As an employer, you may have questions about hiring an individual with a disability as it relates to the Americans with Disabilities Act. This video will give you a brief overview of a few of the things you need to know about the ADA and how it applies in the pre-employment context. Individuals with disabilities have much to offer potential employers. They're reliable, they have a higher job retention rate, and they bring unique diversity to the workplace. The bottom line is that individuals with disabilities add a lot of value and make up a powerful workforce that should not be overlooked. In this video, we'll provide you with a brief overview of the ADA, who it impacts, and what it means for you when hiring an individual with a disability. First, you're probably wondering if the ADA impacts you. Generally speaking, the ADA is a federal law that applies to employers with 15 or more employees. However, even if you do not have 15 employees, you may be subject to state laws that provide comparable or broader protection to individuals with disabilities. For example, in South Dakota, anti-discrimination laws apply to all employers, regardless of size. Who's protected by the ADA? A person is protected if he or she has a disability and is qualified for the job being applied for. To be qualified, the individual must meet all necessary skill, experience, education, and other job-related requirements, and be able to perform the essential functions of the job with or without reasonable accommodations. The ADA provides protection two ways. First, it prohibits employers from discriminating against qualified individuals with disabilities. Second, it requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations to qualified individuals with disabilities, unless the accommodations impose undue hardship on the employer. What constitutes undue hardship? It's when providing an accommodation would cause great difficulty or expense to the employer. Hardship is determined on a case-by-case basis after all possible forms of accommodation have been explored. To be protected under the ADA, an individual with a disability must be able to perform the essential functions of the job, with or without reasonable accommodation. You are not required to eliminate essential functions of a job as a form of accommodation. Therefore, it's important to accurately identify essential functions for each position. Job descriptions are one way to identify these essential functions. For example, a 40-pound lifting requirement may be an essential job function for a warehouse worker, and that requirement should be listed in the job description for that position. Next, make sure all standards, tests, or other selection criteria you use to determine whether an applicant is qualified for the position are job-related and necessary. This rule is in place to make sure individuals with disabilities are not excluded from job opportunities unless they're actually unable to do the job with or without reasonable accommodation. For example, requiring a college degree for a warehouse worker may not be an appropriate form of selection criteria, but requiring such applicant to be physically capable of lifting a certain amount of weight likely would be. As an employer, you need to take steps to include and accommodate individuals with disabilities throughout the entire hiring process, including the recruitment and application process. Examples of reasonable accommodations during these stages include allowing applications to be completed and submitted in various forms, providing interpreters during interviews, and ensuring interviews are held in accessible locations. Lastly, be sure you're aware of how to handle disability-related inquiries and medical examinations. These are questions or exams likely to elicit information about a disability. Your ability to require medical exams or ask disability-related questions depends on the stage of the employment relationship. You may not do either prior to offering an applicant a job. However, you may ask about someone's ability to perform job-related functions with or without accommodation. For example, if a 40-pound lifting requirement is an essential job function for a warehouse worker, you could ask the applicant about his or her ability to lift this amount of weight and to describe or demonstrate how he or she would do so with or without reasonable accommodation. Once an offer has been made and before employment begins, You may require medical examinations or make disability-related inquiries. However, any examinations or inquiries must be applied consistently to all applicants for the position. The results must be maintained separately and confidentially, and you may only condition the job offer on the results of the examination or inquiry if these results are job-related and necessary for the position. Individuals with disabilities can add diversity and value to your workplace. Review your hiring practices to ensure you're not eliminating skilled candidates. For more information about the pre-employment process, visit ada.gov, askearn.org, contact an attorney, or review the accompanying fact sheet for this video. Also, be sure to watch the video titled ADA Considerations During Employment to learn more about what you should know after an individual with disabilities is hired.